باركة الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، شفيع المذنبين وخاتم النبيين، نبينا وشفينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فإليك يا رب نسبت وجهي، وإليك يا رب مددت يدي، فبعزتك استجب لدعائي وبلغني منايا، ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي، واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي. يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء، فإنك فعال لما تشاء. يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غنى، ارحم من رعس ماله الرجاء وسلاؤه البقاء. يا سابغ النعم، يا دافع النقم، يا نور المستوحشين في الظلم، يا عالما لا يعلم، صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بي ما أنت أحلو. وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. أما بعد. Respected scholars, elders, my brothers and sisters in the community, Salamun alaykum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمسابنا بأبي عبد الله الحسين عليه الصلاة والسلام. Looking at the relationship between man and animal, between the human being and animal, shows that in general there is one common quality that is shared between both man and animal. And yet there is another quality which is exclusive only to man, and is either not found in animals or it's found in animals at a very low degree. The common quality between man and animal is that they may act on impulse and instinct. Man acts on impulse either because he is led away with emotion, or many times he takes an instinctive decision to do something. He may react to a situation where he does not even wait to think or to reflect or to ponder. He just reacts instinctively. For example, when a person is hungry, he instinctively rushes towards food. When a person is thirsty, he instinctively rushes towards water. These impulses may be called natural, and although they are instinctive and although they are impulsive, they are to the person's benefit. They are to that human being's benefit. And it actually, looks after that innate need of that human being. And that is why he reacts impulsively in that way. They are natural impulses. And these natural impulses or instincts are good, such as the ones that I've described. And many times they are harmless, provided, they are carried out to a reasonable extent. However, any good act which is done impulsively or which is done through instinct may be good, but it is not special. It is not commendable as far as the human being is concerned, as far as man is concerned. The reason is because man has an exclusive and special quality, a quality whereby he carries out an act by consciousness and intention. And he carries out that act by consciousness and intention by using his intellect, his aql. It is called quwwat iradi. Because of this special quality, this quality that can only be found in man, where he intends to do good, but he does that through consciousness using his aql, his intellect, not through impulse and instinct. This is the difference. Let me give you an example to make this clear, right? For example, somebody makes a passionate speech in this community. And in that passionate speech, they show you photographs or videos or a YouTube of orphans, for example, that are suffering in various parts of the world. And they are making this passionate speech, and at the end of this passionate speech, they are actually appealing to you to donate towards a fund that would address the needs of these orphans and the disadvantaged people that they are trying to get funds for. So they show you a video, they show you photographs, they make a passionate speech and ask you for your fund. When a person does that, this particular act has an emotional effect on the person who's listening to it. And because of that emotional effect, he impulsively and instinctively wants to donate to that fund. That act is good. It's not a bad act. It's a good act. However, think of a time, when you wake up in the morning and there is no impulse, there is no stimulus. Nobody is making a passionate speech. You just wake up and you rise in the morning without any external influence. You make an intention on that day that today I would like to help a poor orphan. That act is very different from an act that was aroused through a stimulus to your impulse and your instinct. That act that a human being performs through intention and consciousness is very, very different. And in fact, when he performs that act, that is the beginning of the development of the character of that person. This is the definition of the beginning of akhlaqiyat. This is akhlaq at its early stage. You are making a decision based on consciousness and intention, not based on impulse and instinct. It is a quality exclusive to man. If you abuse me and I retaliate by reciprocating that abuse, that is impulse and instinct. However, if you abuse me and I make an intention consciously to reply that abuse with politeness, to shun away that abuse with politeness, that is an act that is very different because it is done through intention and consciousness. That good deed is very different. We sometimes are operating in a way where we act impulsively and instinctively in all situations, without using the intellect to actually act with consciousness and intention. And you can see this as the first example in the Holy Quran. In the Holy Quran, if you look at the story of Habil and Qabil, Habil says to Qabil, he says that even if you extend your hand to kill me, I will not extend my hand to kill you. لَإِن بَسَطْتَ إِلَيَّ يَدَكَ لِتَقْتُلَنِي مَا أَنَا بِبَاسِطٍ يَدِيَ إِلَيْكَ لِأَقْتُلَكَ. This is what Habil says. If you stretch your hand to slay me, it is not for me to stretch my hand to slay you. There is a difference here. The difference is that here the human being does not react if he intends to, and this is the beginning of akhlaq. And this is why Imam Sajjad, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, in Makarimul Akhlaq, he says that make my intentions, O Allah, make my intentions be the best of intentions. And he says, make my actions, change my actions into the best of actions. This is what he's getting at. To do something out of a sincere intention and consciousness using your intellect rather than to act impulsively and instinctively. Ayatollah Khomeini, he says, rahmatullahi alayhi, he says, the truth is that if intentions are made pure, then good characteristics will be formed automatically. The problem is that we don't make our intentions pure. He says that the source of all evil and wickedness is nothing but insincere and impure intentions. It is when we act out of impulse and instinct. Which then brings us to the fact that there is therefore actually a very deep relationship between morality and faith, between Iman and your character and your ethical and moral structure. Is a very deep relationship. The deep relationship is that an immoral attitude or an unethical character actually stops us, becomes a veil for us in believing and accepting the truth and reality when it comes in front of us. It does not allow us to understand the truth. It does not allow us to see the truth when we have immoral and unethical character within ourselves. In fact, if you look at this, if you have a character which is immoral and unethical, then even when the truth presents itself to you, and even when you look at the truth and you hear the truth, you reject the truth. In fact, the ulama of akhlaq said to us, and according to the Quran, sometimes the reason why when the truth is in front of us, sometimes the reason why we do not accept the truth is because we are so connected, we are so attached to the worldly desires that we have, that we are unable to forsake those worldly desires for the truth. Why? Because the truth conflicts with what our attachment is to this dunya. And that's why we don't accept it. So there's a very deep relationship between morality and ethics and faith or Iman. Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli, he says that, Allah has said in many places in the Quran that if a human being creates a level of goodness within himself, he calls it khair, right? If he creates a level of khair or goodness within himself, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enlighten him. But then Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli says that there are three categories of human beings, of people, who because of their immoral behavior, because of their unethical character, and because of their worldly shackles that they are in, because of that immoral and unethical character that they have, they are not able to hear and they are not able to understand the truth. The three categories that he describes, one of those categories I will expand on a little bit more. The first category is of those people. Remember, we are talking about those people whose ethical character, whose ethical behavior and moral character is so polluted that they are not able to understand the truth, and they are not able to even after understanding the truth, they reject the truth because of their unethical character. The first category are those, because of their immoral behavior and unethical character, the first category are those who, when the truth is presented to them, they just close their ears. They don't want to hear it. They just don't want to listen to it. And this was, very common in the time of the Holy Prophet, right? When the Holy Prophet came, and when he was spreading the knowledge, and when he was spreading the religion of Islam, when he was reciting verses from the Holy Quran, people were told to close their ears. People were told to make noise. Why? Because they were saying to each other, don't listen to him. Don't listen to what he says, because he may be saying something, you may actually hear it, and then you may decide to follow it. So close your ears. We do the same. We're a little bit smarter, right? We think to ourselves that if I don't know this part of the Sharia, if I don't look into this part of the religion, then I won't be answerable for it. That's how we think, right? It's the same. It's just the same thing, but we're just a little bit smarter about it, right? So you say to yourself, okay, if I don't know this rule of fiqh, for example, and my topic is not fiqh, right? If I don't know about this, and I just ignore it, I don't listen to it, and if somebody's talking about it, or if I have to read about it, if I don't do it, then that's okay, because, on the day of judgment, I'll tell to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mani noti khabar. I didn't know. Sorry. If I had known, I would have followed, but I didn't know. And that's what we think. That's the first group. The second group is the group of people which hears the truth, which understands the truth, but they reject the truth because of their immoral and unethical behavior, because of their immoral and unethical character. They hear the truth, they understand it, but they reject it. It conflicts with their own desires and attachments of this dunya. Within this group is another dangerous group. That group is that group which hears the truth, which understands the truth, but not only do they reject the truth, but they fight against the truth because of their immoral and unethical character. The third group, perhaps, is the worst of the groups. Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli says, it's the most dangerous of the group. This is the group that hears the truth, but now has lost the capacity to distinguish within that truth what is right from what is wrong. They don't get it. They are unable to distinguish what is good from what is evil. Why? Because of their unethical and immoral character. And if you analyze Karbala and you look at the forces of Yazid, you will find a continuum of all of these three groups in the forces of Yazid. Those who knew the truth, those who understood the truth, those who then rejected the truth, and then not only those who rejected the truth, but they were ready to fight against the truth and fight against Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. We need to therefore see for ourselves, are we amongst this continuum in anywhere? Do we lie in this continuum in anywhere because of our immoral and unethical character? Look at what the Quran says, right? There is very beautifully, you can see the distinguishing factor about immoral character and behavior and how the truth is rejected. You look at the example, of the story of Moses, with the magicians, right? You know the story, right? Moses throws his staff, right? He throws his stick. And that stick becomes a huge snake. And what does that snake do? That huge snake gobbles up the snake of all the magicians, the snakes of all the magicians. It gobbles them all up. Yeah? This is a common story. All of you know this story, right? He throws the stick. It becomes a snake. It eats up all the false snakes of the magicians. When that happens, what happens with the magicians? And what happens with Fir'aun? What is their reaction to this amazing miracle of Musa? As soon as this happens, Surah Shu'ara, the magicians, the Surah Shu'ara say, فَأُلْقِيَ سَحَرَةُ السَّاجِدِينَ. As soon as this happens, the magicians fling themselves into prostration. They immediately go into sajda. As soon as they see the truth in front of them, they realize this is not a magic trick. This is real. As soon as they see the truth, immediately they go into prostration. فَأُلْكِيَهَا سَحَرَةُ السَّاجِدِينَ قَالُوا آمَنَّا بِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Then the magicians say that we believe in the Lord of the worlds. We believe in the Lord of the worlds. Look at Fir'aun's reaction. Fir'aun, when he sees the same truth in front of him, of Musa's staff becoming a snake, eating up all the false snakes, Fir'aun is seeing the same thing. His reaction is to the magicians. He says that I will cut off your hands and I will cut off your feet from the opposite sides and I will crucify you. And when Fir'aun says that, the response of the magicians is, قَالُوا لَا ذَيْرَ إِنَّا إِلَىٰ رَبِّنَا مُنْقَلِبُونَ. They say, we don't care. It doesn't matter to us. We are not afraid of you anymore. We shall return to our Lord. Look at this. The magicians they're saying because they've seen the truth. They have now understood the truth. They have accepted the truth. They are ready to act upon the truth. No, they are ready to even die for the truth. Musa's miracle has that effect on these magicians. Why? Because the magician's moral and ethical character was in the state of purification. They had the capacity and the potential within themselves to be able to recognize the truth, to understand the truth, and to be able to accept the truth and act upon the truth. The relationship between morality and faith in Fir'aun is intertwined. He is not able to forsake his attachments of this world, his wealth, his glory, his power. He's not able to forsake those attachments. And therefore, even though he sees the same truth, he's not able to accept it. He cannot accept it. And he threatens them that I will kill you, I will crucify you, I will do this. In the case of Fir'aun, his morality has led to the corruption of his soul. In the case of the magicians, their morality has led to the purification of his soul. That's what we have to try and understand. And that's how we need to move forward. That's why they were ready to prostrate to the Almighty and have no fear of the Pharaoh. And this, my friends, is exactly what the fourth Imam, Imam Sajjad, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, this is what he witnessed in Karbala. This is an analysis that I have done on Imam Sajjad. I am in no position to do an analysis of any Imam. The purpose and reasons of the Imams are so great that we don't have any access to them. But in the limited form that I am able to, this is what I have come up with as one, or perhaps one of the purposes of the fourth Imam. The fourth Imam witnessed this in Karbala. Witnessed the fact that the people who had killed Imam Hussein alayhi salam had done so because of the fact that their souls were immoral and their character was unethical. And because of that, they were unable to see the truth. They were unable to accept the truth. They were unable to not only see or accept, but they were ready to reject the truth. And they actually fought against the truth. He's able to witness this because it was only 50 years. 50 years since the demise of the Holy Prophet that Karbala happened. It only happened in a span of 50 years. 50 years after the demise of the Prophet, the Muslims had become so immoral and they became so attached to this dunya in such a way that immoral and unethical character within themselves led to them not being able to connect the truth with their worldly attachments, to the extent that they were ready to kill the grandson of the Holy Prophet. And so after awakening that slumbering consciousness that was needed, which is what the sacrifice of Karbala provided, right? The sacrifice of Karbala provided a means to shake up the ummah. Right? They were in a slumber. And Abu Abdullah al-Hussein wanted to shake them up, to awaken them, to shake them up and say, come out of this slumber. That is why the sacrifice of Karbala was done. But after that sacrifice, it was now time for Imam Sajjad to inculcate a moral and ethical revolution within the hearts of the ummah. A moral and ethical revolution so that they would be able to see the truth, understand the truth, and act upon the truth. That was the purpose. After the tragedy of Ashura, perhaps there was Islamic society went through a lot of calamity, and Imam Khomeini rahmatullahi alayhi he says that the greatest tragedy that came about was the fact that this ummah had lost its good morals and good character. That is why they had become in that particular state. Therefore, you see that Imam Sajjad, in his whole life after Karbala, he starts to advocate and instill and spread the importance of good character and fix that corruption of the soul within the society and the ummah. That was his mission. In fact, I would say Imam Sajjad alayhi salam is known as the founder of a new movement, a movement of morality and ethics. That is what he did. He produced two major pieces of work, right? You know the two pieces of work that he produced. Both of these works that he has produced are grounded in morality and ethics. Both of these works. The first work that he produces is the Sahifa Sajjadiyya, right? You know the Sahifa Sajjadiyya or the Sahifa Kamila, as it is called, which is a collection of du'as. If you look at the du'as of Imam Sajjad, you will see a theme within those du'as. And the theme within those du'as is all about developing a good moral and ethical character. Dua for your neighbors, dua for your parents, dua for your children, dua for... And then there is the classic, the great dua, right? The dua of makarimul akhlaq, right? the dua of the peak of character and morality. The other work that he produced is work called Risalatul Hukuk, right? Which is the treatise of rights. Again, a work that is grounded in morality and ethics. The rights of a father on his son, the son on the father, the children on the parents on the children, the rights between a brother and a sister, the rights of non-Muslims on Muslims, the rights of Muslims on non-Muslims. No, not only that, the rights of your eyes on yourself, the rights of your hands on yourself, the rights of your limbs on yourself. The whole book is a book that is full of morality and ethics, development of the character of the human being. He grounds it on these two things, these two pieces of work. Why? Because he has realized that in these 50 years, the reason that his father was martyred and slaughtered in the fields of Karbala was because the Ummah had developed immoral and unethical character. So they were not able to see the truth, and and even when they saw the truth, they were not able to forsake their worldly attachments, so they rejected it and they actually fought against it. That's the revolution he brought. And look at how he does it. Look at some of the statements he makes. In Dua Makarim al-Akhlaq, for example. It's one of these du'as that most of the modern psychologists have not been able to explain this dua. You will see if you look at the literature of this dua, you'll see that there are psychologists, human psychologists, who say, we don't understand this. We don't understand how a human being can reach this level and this peak of morality and ethics. Look at what he says in this dua, right? وَسَدِّدْنِي لَنْ أَعْرَضَ مَنْ غَشَّنِي بِالنُّص. He says, "Oh Allah, grant me that capability that whoever tries to cheat me, I reply back with fairness." Allahu Akbar. Think about this. First of all, we cheat people. And God forbid if somebody cheats us, then we feel we have a license to cheat them. He did it to me. He cheated me. I have to cheat him. But look at the character that the Imam is trying to develop. Oh Allah, grant me that capability that whoever tries to cheat me, I reply back with fairness. وَجْزِيَ مَنْ حَجَزَنِي بِالْبِرِّ. Repay him who separates from me with gentle devotion. وَأَثِبَ مَنْ حَرَمَنِي بِالْبَدْلِ. Reward him who deprives me with free giving. وَكَافِيَ مَنْ قَتَأَنِي بِالسِّلَّةِ. Look at this. He says, whoever wants to cut their relationship with me, whoever wants to do qat rahmi, right? Whoever wants to cut off their relationship with me, oh Allah, grant me the ability to join with him and make amends with him. وَخَالِفَ مَنْ اغْتَابَنِي إِلَى حُسْنُ الذِّكْرِ. It's amazing, right? Whoever tries to backbite me, O Allah, grant me the ability to speak good of him. Amazing. Look at how he has taken this whole revolution of morality and ethics to a level where he's trying to inculcate these values in the human beings, in that ummah, because he has realized that it is because of this immoral and unethical behavior that they were ready to kill his father. Sheikh Abbas Qumi in Nafasul Mahmoom, he writes, Nafasul Mahmoom is a book of Sheikh Abbas Qumi. It's the same author who did Mifatul Janan, right? Nafasul Mahmoom is a book where he talks about the events of Karbala, and he describes the events of Karbala. And he says in this book, he says, then when it dawned, Ibn Ziyad called for the head of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. This is the time when the Qafila had traveled from Karbala to Kufa, right? With the heads that were at the end of the spears, the heads of the Shuhada. And he says, then when it dawned, Ibn Ziyad called for the head of Imam Hussein and ordered it to be paraded in the streets of Kufa and among the clans of Kufa. Kufa was divided into different clans. And Ibn Ziyad asked that the head of Imam Hussein be paraded into the different clans of Kufa. Zayd ibn Arqam says, this is Sheikh Abbas Qumi writes, Zayd ibn Arqam says that I was on my terrace when the head of Imam Hussein alayhi salam passed by me, placed upon a lance, placed upon a spear. And he says, when it came close to me, I heard the head of Imam Hussein alayhi salam recite Suratul Kahf. Now think about this. This is amazing. Would you not agree? The head that is upon a lance that is being paraded in Kufa. Zayd ibn Arqam says that when it passed by me, I heard the head of Hussein recite Suratul Kahf. I haven't started Masayib yet. So please turn the lights on. Thank you. When I start the Masayib, I'll let you know. So look at this particular thing, right? Imagine this. This is a great thing, right? This is a karama. Would you not agree? Like, this is not an ordinary thing. The head of Imam Hussein reciting Suratul Kahf is not something like, it's not an ordinary thing. The question then is that if everybody heard it, why did they not change? Why not? Or the other question is that maybe Zayd ibn Arqam is the only one who heard it, or there were only a few like Zayd ibn Arqam who heard it, and others did not hear it. That's even worse. It means that if Zayd ibn Arqam and the likes of Zayd ibn Arqam were the only ones who heard it, it means that the other people, their moral and ethical character was such that they were unable to hear the words of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. They were unable to hear it. Ever wondered why we have listened to so many lectures, so many majalises, so many Laylatul Qadrs, so many Muharrams, so many youth sessions? Why is there no effect? Why are we still there? Why are we the same place as we were before? Why have we not transformed? The reason is we're looking for spirituality, yet we have not even developed a moral and ethical framework within ourselves to even call ourselves human. We want to be an arif, irfan. But we need to be human beings first. We need to develop that character, that morality, that ethics within yourself, so that when that truth comes in front of you, you can understand it and you can act upon it. We have not come to this. And this is what the fourth Imam has taught us. This mal ko ghasab karna, we say it in Urdu, right? Taking away stuff that doesn't belong to you. Cheating people, right? We never think about it these days. We do things in such a way, we have, our greed has reached to such a level that we don't even think about it anymore. We think to yourself, in whatever way I can, I just want to amass this wealth. I just want to amass this, everything that I can. We don't even think about it. Stealing, cheating, fraud, We don't even think about it. And then we think to ourselves, well, youth are deviated, man. We need something for the youth. Meetings after meeting, resolution after resolution. We need to think. Look at what the fourth Imam says. Imam Sajjad alayhi salam says that if the killer of my father, Allahu Akbar, he says, if the killer of my father was to bring that sword to me, the sword with which he slaughtered my father as an amana, as a trust, then he says that I swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has brought Muhammad as a Nabi in this world, that I would not betray even that trust of that sword which was used to kill my father. You know, a relative of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, who was standing beside him in Medina, recite a salawat please on Imam Sajjad. A relative of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam who was standing beside him in Medina, in the mosque outside, he raised his voice against the Imam and he started to abuse the Imam. And he started to accuse the Imam loudly. When that happened, the Imam did not answer him. The Imam did not answer him, and he went back to his house without answering him. This is control of intention over instinct. The instinct would be what? The instinct would be to immediately reply back. But the Imam doesn't reply back because he has control, right? So he leaves. He leaves the area and he goes home. His companions go home with him. Imam goes home, and after a little while, he comes out. His companions are waiting for him. And the Imam says to him that, did you hear what this man said? It was a relative of Imam. He says, do you hear what this man said? Now, he says to the companion, he says, I want you to come with me. Let's go and visit him. Look at what Imam is doing, right? Look at how he is teaching the people at that time about morality and ethics, about the importance of intention and consciousness over instinct and impulse. So he says to the people, he says, come with me. The companions, he takes the companions, and he puts on his shoes and he sets out. And the hadith says that as he is walking, he is reciting an ayah of the Quran. This is from chapter 3, ayah number 134. He says, and those who restrain their anger and pardon men, Allah loves the doers of the good. He's reciting this ayah as he's walking. They reach the house of that person. And he goes to the servant and he says to the servant, Imam introduces himself to the servant, and he says to the servant, tell your master that I have come to visit. So the servant goes and calls this man who had abused the Imam, right? Who had accused the Imam in a very rude and loud way, abused and accused him. He comes out, he's ready. He's ready to have a fight. Because he thinks that Imam now has come to have a fight with him. He has come to retaliate, to take revenge. So he comes out with blazing guns, right? He's out there, he's ready to take on the Imam. As soon as he comes out, the Imam says to him, my brother. He says, my brother, a few minutes ago, you were standing beside me and you said such and such a word against me. And then Imam said that if the one whom you described, if it is me, if I am the one whom you have described, then I ask Allah for forgiveness. And then he says to him, but if what you said about me is not true, if what you have said about me is not true, then I will ask Allah to forgive you. And when this man hears this, he starts to cry. He kisses the forehead of the Imam, saying that indeed what I said about you is not true. It is in fact more deserving of me. And the Imam says, then I will ask forgiveness for you. This is the development of moral and ethical character that changes, that reforms a society, reforms a community. You know, once there was a caravan that was going for Hajj, a caravan of Muslims, was headed towards Mecca. And as they went from Medina, a man, joined this caravan. And this man, he joined the group, and he noticed, that there was somebody in this group. He used to wear a cloak. The person was wearing a cloak. And there was somebody he saw looked like a person who was a guided person, an enlightened person. So this man got interested. Who is this man? He couldn't see him properly. But he saw that this man was eager and busy in helping the Hujjaj who were going in this caravan. He was very eager, and he was trying to help in whatever way he could. Finally, the person's face, was shown, and this man saw the person's face. And when he saw the person's face, he recognized that man. And when he recognized him, he became surprised. He came to the leaders of the caravan, and he said to the leaders of the caravan, he said, do you know who this person is? Because he says that, if you were to know who this person is, then you wouldn't be doing what you did. And the people said, the leaders of that caravan said, we don't know who he is. They say he joined us in Medina. He's a very decent man. He's a very pious man. We didn't ask him for any help, but he has been so eager, and he has been helping all the Hujjaj, but we don't know who he is. And this man says that obviously you do not know who he is. For if you did, you would never have allowed a man like him to be at the service of a caravan like yours. And the leaders said to this man, he said, well, who is he? Tell us, who is this person? And he says, this is Ali ibn al-Hussein az-Zain al-Abidin. And the leaders get shocked. They said, are you serious? This is Ali ibn al-Hussein? And the man says, yes, this is Ali ibn al-Hussein. The group stands up in shame. They come to the Holy Imam and they start to apologize to the Holy Imam. The Holy Imam hears it, and as they are starting to apologize, then they start to complain to the Holy Imam. And they say to the Holy Imam, they say, why did you treat us like this? Why did you not tell us who you were? We were afraid that, we may have actually gone beyond our bounds out of ignorance for respect of a person like you. We may have committed a big sin. And look at what Imam Sajjad says. He says, I intentionally joined your group. So the reason I joined your group is because I knew that none of you knew who I was by face. You had heard of me, but you had not known me as to who I was. I joined the group, he says, because when people know me, they connect me to the Holy Prophet. And for the sake of the Holy Prophet, they are very kind to me. And they are sometimes kind to me in such a way that I may not be deserving of that kindness. So he said, that's why I came to you. I came to you because that group who knows me, they never allow me to serve the Hujjaj. They never allow me to be of some service. I was so eager to join a group and I would be anonymous, so I would have at least the honor of serving my brothers. This is the Imam. Today, I don't know. We are so engulfed, I think, enveloped in our own cocoon that we don't think outside at all. Who is in need? Who needs us? Who wants us? How can I be of service?
only happens when there is a stimulus and you react instinctively. The Imam says to us, develop a character, an ethical character, a character based on true morality. And when you do that, wallahi, everything else will follow. You will see the truth, you will understand it, you will be willing to act upon it, and you will be ready to die for it. And that's what you see in the camp of Hussein. In the camp of Hussein, the companions see the truth, they appreciate the truth, they understand it, they are not only ready to act on it, but they are ready to die for it. And this is the revolution that this Imam brings after Karbala. He notices that the greatest calamity of the Muslim Ummah was their lack of morality and ethics. So he brings this moral and ethical revolution. That's why I call this reformation through morality. And there is none better than Imam Sajjad who did this. You know, this Imam, we have hadith that Imam Sajjad cried a lot after the events of Karbala. But if you look at the hadith, we are reciting Masayib now. So if you look at the hadith, you will see that in the hadith it is said that the times that the Imam used to cry the most was that time whenever water would come in front of him. For some reason, whenever water would be presented to the Imam, or whenever he was around where water was offered to other people, that is when he wept the most. He wept the most at that time because, and then he would say that they killed my father, but they killed him in a state where he was thirsty. There is a narration of Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam. In Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam, he says that at the last moments of my father, when he was passing away, when he was about to die, during the last moments, Imam Baqir says that I went to my father. And he says, I went to my father, and as he had only a few moments left that he was about to pass away, I kissed his forehead and I hugged my father. And when I kissed his forehead and I hugged my father, Imam Sajjad started to weep and he started to cry. And Imam Muhammad Baqir said, I asked my father, oh father, why are you crying and why are you weeping? Imam Sajjad says to Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, he says, oh my son, you kissed my forehead and you hugged me. But in Karbala, I was unable to kiss the forehead of my father after he had died. Why? Because they had beheaded my father. So I was not able to kiss his forehead. And then he says, you hugged me, but I was not even able to hug the body of my father in Karbala because I was chained and I was shackled and I had those handcuffs in my hands that I was not able to embrace the body of my father. It is said, my friends, that there are 3 Imams who really cried very loudly, who cried very, very loudly when it came to giving ghusl to somebody. The first Imam who cried very loudly at the time of giving ghusl was Amirul Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, when he was giving ghusl to Fatima al-Zahra. Imam cried so loudly that when he was asked, he said that when I was giving ghusl to Fatima al-Zahra, I saw that broken rib which was inflicted upon her when the door of the house was broken by the Muslims and it fell on her and she was killed and her young baby was killed. Her young baby by the name of Mohsin was killed. The second Imam who cried very loudly was Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. He cried when he was giving ghusl to the 4-year-old sister of his in the Zindan of Sham. And the sister who's known as Ruqayya and sometimes is known as Sakina. The women folk who came to do ghusl to this 4-year-old girl, they refused to do ghusl. When Imam asked the women folk of Sham, why have you refused to do ghusl of my 4-year-old sister? They said, we don't want to do ghusl for her because we are afraid she has some disease. And Imam says, why do you think that? The women folk said, have you not seen her body? Her body is full of black and blue marks. We think that she is afflicted with some disease. Imam Sajjad said to these women folk, she is not afflicted with any disease. This is my sister who was thrown from the camel on the way from Karbala to Kufa, on the way from Kufa to Sham. She was kicked by Shimmer. She was slapped by Shimmer. These are the bruises on the body of my sister. She has not been afflicted with any disease. The third Imam that cried very loudly was the fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, when he gave ghusl to fourth Imam, Imam Sajjad. When he gave ghusl, he started to weep and cry loudly, and he shrieked out loudly. And when he was asked, he said that when I was giving ghusl to my father, after so many years, I could still see the marks of the chains that had been wrapped around the body of my father. Historians have said that because Imam was so sick, they tied Imam with chains onto the camel so the Imam would not fall, and the chains were tied in such a way around his legs that during the heat of that particular time, during the time when they were going from Kufa to Sham, the heat would heat up the chains, and those heated chains would eat into the flesh of Imam Sajjad, so that even the bones were showing of the Imam. And this is why Imam Muhammad al-Baqir is crying during the ghusl of Imam Sajjad. It is the fourth Imam who, upon the return to Medina, even when Muhammad Hanafiya tries to hug the fourth Imam, the Imam is not able to bear it. He says, ah, and when Muhammad Hanafiya hears this, he asks the fourth Imam that what is it? Why are you so uncomfortable? Imam says that the whips of Shimmer are still raw in my body, that when you hug me, it is still distress and pain from even your hug. وسيعلم الذين سلموا أيام القلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. ماتم حسين يا حسين.